I have to come with it all. I have to do more. Obviously, just to secure the win is doing just enough to get a draw. So I have to push harder. I have to train harder. I have to be more mean. I have to be more physical. I have to do a lot. I have to do everything just a little more. And I think that will definitely put me over the hump. And
Is it gonna be a rematch, or y'all still working on it, or what's the plan?
It's gonna be a rematch.
But it's not
9 times out of 10,
sealed to deliver.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Okay.
Tank Davis and Lamont Roach are set for a highly anticipated rematch, one that promises to be even more intense than their previous encounter. The drama from their first fight has only intensified the rivalry, and both fighters are eager to settle the score once and for all. The rematch is scheduled for June 21st in Las Vegas, and with the stakes so high, it's clear this won't be a fight that goes to the judges' scorecards. Tank has already made his stance clear, telling Roach that he plans to end the fight before the final rounds. Roach, however, is confident in his ability to defeat Davis again. "I'm ready for a second round," Roach said. "Once I win again, I might request the WBA to let me move up to 140 and challenge Rio." Roach has been vocal about his frustrations, particularly with referee Willis, who he feels made crucial mistakes during the first bout. According to Roach, Willis gave Davis extra time to recover after a knockdown and ignored what Roach believes were illegal actions in Davis's corner. The challenger feels he was robbed of a well-deserved victory.
We'll be getting that rematch. I think that's really big, man. If we do get that rematch on June the 21st, I believe that'll be big news. I believe that'll be big, man. So if we can get that fight, man,
Absolutely not. He can't be in the next fight, Roach expressed in frustration. "It is what it is. Just look at how many mistakes were made during the last fight, like the knee, or Davis going to the corner for help." While Roach didn't directly accuse Davis of cheating, he strongly implied that the officiating played a major role in Davis's advantage. "You can't let that happen," Roach continued. "That's grounds for disqualification."
Here's like sweat gonna get in your eye, blood gonna get in your eye, spit fuck around and get in your eye. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like you can be like, "All right, time out, ref. Hold on, ref. Can't do that."
Right. Would you be cool with Steve Willis doing the next fight?
Hell no.
He can't do the next fight.
No, he can't do the next fight.
Right.
Roach and his team went as far as submitting a petition to the New York State Athletic Commission, hoping to have the result changed. However, their request was quickly rejected. With no other options, Roach turned his attention to securing a direct rematch. And now, that fight is almost a done deal. "Let me make it clear. I've signed my part," Roach stated, emphasizing that the only thing left is for Davis to officially agree.
Rematch right now. Roach Tank, Haney Garcia.
Roach Tank. I mean, first of all, Tank. First of all, Tank is just bigger than Haney and Ryan both. And recency bias, that just happened. Haney was last year. This just happened. More people, like Haney didn't get a song. Well, he did get a song. But that's what I'm saying. His song is dead or dying out. Tank's is popping. Like, it's Tank's time right now. Tank is in our mind more than Haney.
On the other hand, Davis has remained relatively low-key. Unlike Roach, he hasn't engaged in media rants or blamed anyone. Instead, his focus solely on his training, cutting out distractions and preparing with a heightened sense of intensity. Sources within his camp suggest that Davis is channeling all the criticism he's received as fuel for his motivation. "He knows what people are saying," said Calvin Ford, when asked about Tank. "That's why he's not messing around this time. No distractions, no outside noise. He's coming to make a statement." Recently, Davis spoke up, making it clear that he has no plans of letting the fight go to the judges. "I'm not letting this one go the distance," Davis said. "This time, I'm finishing it."
I definitely could have. That was on me too. That was on me for sure. Cause I ain't pick it up when I supposed to pick it up. And I could have definitely did more. He caught me with a good shot, but it was times that I sat in there with him and I'm like, damn, this guy like super slow. Well, not super slow, but he's slow. And I could have.
The WBA has already made it clear that the rematch will be mandatory, meaning Davis must accept the fight or risk losing his title. However, even if the belt weren't at stake, Tank has made it known that he wouldn't back down. He's not concerned with the technicalities. He wants to eliminate any doubts. In his view, Roach was fortunate that their first fight even made it to the final bell. This time, Davis intends to finish what he started. Roach, on the other hand, is confident he has the key to victory. He believes he identified weaknesses in Davis's strategy, exploited them early, and put the champion in positions where he was forced to make adjustments.
He got decent power. He got decent power for sure. I ain't gonna say it's exaggerated. I told y'all I got a chin. I ain't going like that. It's just not gonna happen. But like I said, I see why he knocked people out, and I think he felt my power too. Like, I think that's what negated a lot of his shots. And once I took his best shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to roll.
Roach believes his movement, counterpunching, and discipline were key factors that made the fight competitive. And in his mind, those elements were enough to earn him the win. However, Davis's power remained a major threat, and Roach is fully aware that avoiding it for 12 rounds is no easy task. The negotiations for the rematch have progressed quickly, with both camps eager to settle the score. Roach promoter, Gary Jonas, confirmed that they are just waiting on the final paperwork, but everything else is nearly finalized. With Las Vegas as the venue and the lingering controversy from their first encounter, the rematch is expected to be an even more dramatic spectacle.
Everyone's mind, how close is the rematch? How big will it be? How close is it to getting done?
Very close. It's in my mind, it's a done deal, but there are formalities, but it's a done deal and it's not far off. I can't give you more than that right now, but what I can tell you is that it's going to be an interesting fight. I think you've got dynamics. You've got Gervonta, who's probably going to be angry, probably woken up, probably more focused than he has been, not talking about retirement. That's a factor.
Roach, while confident, remains cautious. Is not underestimating Davis, but stands firm in his belief that he can outbox him. To Roach, the biggest challenge wasn't Davis himself, but the officiating. His advocating for a neutral referee and a fair fight, convinced that with those conditions, he'll prove he's the superior fighter. Davis, however, has a different perspective. He felt Roach wasn't truly winning, but merely surviving. Davis believes he was never in real danger and that Roach spent more time avoiding than engaging. That's why he's adopting a much more aggressive strategy this time. Davis is targeting a knockout and has made it clear that he's going for the finish.
He was coming up a weight.
Right.
And coming up a weight, and you're fighting immediately the head of the class. And what you and Cannon have taught me about weight classes they are important. They are in place for a reason. So don't just sit here and just act like he was just like that. Now, he came out there and fought an amazing fight. He had an amazing game plan, and I immediately really...
This isn't going 12 rounds, Davis declared. I'm finishing this early. Just watch. But in the midst of all this, Terrence Crawford has added more fuel to the fire. Crawford has been taking shots at Tank Davis, though this time it's not in the ring, it's through the media. He's repeatedly claimed that Roach was robbed and that Tank should have lost. Now, Crawford has aimed a new jab at Davis, one he knows will hit harder. Crawford is pushing for Tank to fight Shakur Stevenson on the undercard of his September 13th bout against Canelo Alvarez. Just like that, Crawford is making headlines once again. But the question remains, is this really about boxing, or is Crawford simply taking another dig at Tank?
If Tank was not so cocky to be on a Terrence Crawford undercard, that would be dope. But I don't see Tank taking a backseat to no fighter, because he'll think it's the Tank show. So, I don't know, but it should be a good.
Crawford knows exactly what he's doing by suggesting Tank should fight on his undercard. He's trying to undermine Tank's status, insinuating that Davis isn't the true face of boxing and needs to fight under him to gain exposure. But let's be honest, who really needs who here? If anything, it's Crawford who could use Tank to elevate his own fight. Tank doesn't need to be on anyone's undercard. His fights sell themselves. On the other hand, Crawford's pay-per-view track record outside of his fight with Errol Spence isn't exactly stellar. Even his potential clash with Canelo carries a risk of falling short of the massive event he's hoping for.
Gervonta Davis speaking about you. Is that ever a possible fight?
Yeah, if he want to dare to be great, he can be like all the other fighters that moving up 2 weight classes and, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man, tell him to come up there.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin, so tell him to come and touch it.
But Crawford isn't just questioning Tank's status, he's also challenging his pride. He said that if Tank weren't so cocky about not wanting to be on a Terence Crawford undercard, it would be a smart move. In other words, he's implying that Tank's ego is stopping him from making a good business decision. But let's be real, would Crawford ever fight on Tank's undercard? Of course not. That's why this whole suggestion comes off more like a jab than a genuine proposal. Crawford is clearly testing Tank, trying to provoke a reaction. And let's face it, he'll probably get one. The tension between these two has been building for some time. Crawford has thrown plenty of indirect shots at Tank in the past, even calling Shakur Stevenson and Keishan Davis the best lightweights in boxing while ignoring Tank's achievements.
It's either you or Keishan's gonna get tanked.
Crawford's comments seem to ignore the fact that Tank Davis has knocked out 28 of his 31 opponents. This is the same Tank who sold out arenas and set pay-per-view records. The same fighter who made Ryan Garcia quit with a body shot. Yet, Crawford insists that Lamont Roach is the only one of Tank's 31 opponents to come close to beating him. In reality, Crawford, like many others, likely knows that Roach did, in fact, defeat Tank. And it's from this belief that Crawford's conclusion stems, that Tank is going to take a beating from Roach in the rematch. But why does Crawford act like Tank still has something to prove? Perhaps it's because deep down, he knows Tank is a much bigger star than he is. That must sting for someone who sees himself as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. While Crawford may be undefeated, he hasn't built the kind of global fan base that Tank has. As he moves up to fight Canelo, it seems Crawford realizes he'll need all the star power he can get.
How you feel about that fight? Is it even possible at a catch weight?
No, ain't no catch weight. You come up to 47.
Not even entertaining a catch weight.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And, what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
All right. The reality is, Tank versus Shakur isn't happening anytime soon. It's not just about pride, it's about business. While Shakur is undeniably talented, his style doesn't excite casual fans, and he isn't a major draw. Tank has made it clear that any fight he takes needs to be worth it. And let's face it, Shakur isn't going to bring in huge pay-per-view numbers. On the flip side, a rematch with Ryan Garcia. That's where the real money is. If Tank's weighing his options, why would he settle for a fight with Shakur when he could rake in big earnings facing Ryan again?
Gestor asks, what's the potential matchup in boxing you would like to see next?
I would like to see Shakur versus Devin or Shakur versus Tank. Ooh, those are the two big fights that I would like to see next.
Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson. Who wins that fight right now?
Shakur. Shakur.
Wow.
Let's not overlook the bigger issue. Crawford and Tank don't even fight in the same weight class. Crawford is moving up to 168 for his upcoming fight, far beyond Tank's weight class. So why is he even talking about Tank? The answer is clear. Crawford knows that Tank is the real star. By mentioning Tank's name, he's guaranteed to grab attention. But it's a risky move. If Crawford keeps throwing jabs at Tank, it's only a matter of time before Tank responds. And if there's one thing we know about Tank Davis, it's that he doesn't hold back.
People want to discredit Tank, he's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night? Or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. I had a night with Cruz. Everyone has a night. It's boxing.
Rolando Romero is confident that Gervonta Davis will make the necessary adjustments to secure a win in the rematch against Lamont Roach. In an interview with The Ring, Romero acknowledged that Roach shocked the boxing world with his performance, possibly even surprising himself. However, Romero firmly believes that Davis won't allow that to happen again. He emphasized that Davis is a 3-division world champion and one of the best fighters of this generation. In Romero's view, the rematch is essential, as the first fight left too many unanswered questions.
What I seen in the fight, I thought Lamont won, and I think the commission does need to do something with that knee, because if they don't, then all of us are going to think we could take a knee anytime we want. You know, they got to do something about it. I mean, they did something about me, you got to do something about other people. You know, rules are rules, right? It's, you know, I like Tank though, personally, but a rule is a rule. You can't go and take a knee and then just expect that to be a knockdown. You know, you can't get away with it, stuff like that.
When you say 1 foot in boxing and 1 foot out.
However, not everyone is convinced that adjustments alone will be enough for Davis. There's a growing belief that Roach didn't just have an exceptional night, but rather exposed vulnerabilities in Davis' game. Some analysts argue that Davis' struggles weren't simply a case of underestimating Roach, but a sign that he may not be as dominant as many once thought. Roach demonstrated he could absorb Davis' power, walk him down, and force him into uncomfortable situations. If Davis couldn't finish Roach the first time, why would things be any different in the rematch? On the other hand, Ryan Garcia is firmly backing Davis. In an interview with ES News, Garcia admitted that Davis likely underestimated the fight, expecting Roach to fold under pressure. When that didn't happen, it threw him off balance. However, Garcia believes Davis will come into the rematch as a more focused, prepared fighter. In his view, Davis wins this time simply by taking Roach more seriously.
Reverse the result of your fight.
Yeah.
Should they reverse the result of that fight as well?
Just depends. Like if that changes the whole fight, if that gives Roach a victory, give him the victory. That's how you keep the integrity of the sport, right? That's why they suspended me, right, to keep the integrity of the sport. So I feel like if you're gonna...
Garcia has his own history with Davis, and some fans believe his support for Davis may be more personal than objective. If Davis wins, it makes Garcia's loss to him look more respectable. However, if Roach delivers another strong performance, it raises doubts about Davis' true abilities. That's why Garcia will be watching closely, especially since a future rematch with Davis is still a possibility. However, Garcia isn't solely focused on Davis. He's also concentrating on his own career. He's scheduled to face Rolando Romero in Times Square this May, and a victory could set the stage for a rematch with Devin Haney, which might eventually lead to another showdown with Davis. This version rephrases the original to keep it fresh while maintaining the core ideas. Let me know if y'all
what was going on. It was a hell of a fight. I just rewatched it. Just literally rewatched it. Seriously. Wow. Yeah, highway robbery is right. Highway robbery is right. Like, can't make this.
Tim Bradley, on the other hand, isn't convinced Davis deserved the draw. After re-watching the fight, he changed his scorecard. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Bradley focused on the moment Davis took a knee. He didn't hold back, labeling it a clear knockdown. Bradley pointed out that Davis got hit, took a knee, and then tried to claim something was in his eye. Bradley wasn't buying that excuse, reminding viewers that fighters can't call their own timeouts in boxing. If Davis had an issue, it was the referee's responsibility to step in. Bradley also noted that if Davis' braids were bothering him, that was his own doing. He chose to wear them and had to face the consequences.
Fight a fight that should be on pay-per-view.
Hell no, bro. You like almost a 30-year-old prospect, dog. Fight the best. Fight Shakur. Oh, he tried to fight Lomachenko at the end. I already know it.
Bradley then explained that after re-watching the fight, he now views it as a clear victory for Roach. He scored it either 7 rounds to 5 or even 8 rounds to 4 in Roach's favor. Bradley emphasized that he wasn't trying to disrespect Davis. He simply believed that Roach outworked him. In Bradley's view, Davis wasn't active enough, and Roach controlled more of the fight than many initially acknowledged.
But just couldn't be D1. He's a D2 player. And I'm showing love to Lamont and saying that he's a D2 player simply because he's not at the level that Tank is at.
But he's scoring the same amount of points at the D2 level.
But when you put them on the court in the one-on-one, say again?
Why can't he be mid-major? Why he got to be D2?
I want to make it significant. You know what I mean?
Not everyone shares Bradley's opinion. Sean Porter, speaking on the Portaway podcast, defended the draw. While he acknowledged that many believed Roach won, he urged people to re-watch the fight before making any final judgments. Porter pointed out that just because Davis wasn't in control throughout the entire fight, it didn't mean he lost every close round. He originally scored the fight as a draw and continues to stand by that assessment.
The fact that Lamont Roach is as familiar with Tank Davis as he is, it goes beyond them fighting in the amateurs. They've spent time in camp together. He's been around Tank. He's seen Tank up close and personal, whether he's in the ring with them or not. That matters. When you know a guy's rhythm, when you know their speed, when you know what they're thinking, that changes everything, you know? Saying all this to say that because I know we got a lot of people. It don't matter. When he get hit,
Porter did, however, acknowledge that Roach fought a fantastic fight. He mentioned that if Roach had been given the victory, he wouldn't have argued with the decision. However, he also made it clear that if Roach had lost outright, he would have had a problem with that, especially considering the knockdown moment. In Porter's eyes, the knockdown was legitimate, and Davis was fortunate it didn't have a more significant impact on the final score.
I think in a rematch, I don't see it being, what'd you say, the rematch where he got knocked? Charlo against Harrison?
Yeah.
I don't see it being like that. I feel like Lamont Roach is going to start the pressure earlier, and he's still going to be ready.
These differing opinions underscore the controversy surrounding the fight. Some believe Davis was fortunate to escape with a draw, while others think the result was justified. However, one thing is certain, there's significant pressure on Davis to prove himself in the rematch. If he wins convincingly, he can silence the critics. But if Roach once again pushes him to the brink or even wins outright, it could tarnish Davis' reputation as one of the sport's top fighters.
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach shows y'all how protected Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he disrespected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs, man, he was cherry picking Lamont, you know, and really thought he...
There's also a larger debate unfolding about Davis' standing in boxing. Some believe he's been shielded for too long, and that the Roach fight was his first real test. They argue that Davis has been carefully matched against opponents who either lack the skill or durability to expose his flaws. Now that someone has finally challenged him, people are questioning whether Davis is truly as dominant as has been made out to be. Others think the rematch will settle these questions once and for all. If Davis wins decisively, it will show that the first fight was just an off night. But if he struggles again or even loses, it could reshape how he's perceived in the sport. The stakes are high, and Davis knows it. That's why he's expected to approach this fight with a completely different mindset. What's your take on this? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.